English for travel. The biggest mistake people make when preparing English for travel is believing they need to learn more and more vocabulary before they're ready. They open apps, download PDFs, copy word lists, thinking that the more words they know, the safer they'll feel. But that's not how real travel works. The airport won't test your grammar. The hotel receptionist won't quiz your verbs. And the waiter doesn't care if you know 20 adjectives for delicious. What matters is not how many words you know, but whether you can use the right ones at the right time. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be effective. Imagine you're in a new country. Your flight just landed. You're tired, maybe nervous. You don't need 1,000 words in that moment. You need one sentence. One simple, confident sentence. Where is the taxi? If you can say that with rhythm and clarity, you're in control. If you hesitate, panic, translate in your head. Even the best vocabulary won't save you. That's why travel English begins with rhythm, not complexity. It's about timing, repetition, delivery. It's about building a small toolkit and sharpening it every single day until it feels natural. Language during travel is situational. That means the moments repeat. You'll check in. You'll go through security. You'll board. You'll sit. You'll ask. You'll order. The words change slightly, but the structure stays the same. Can I? Where is? I would like. These aren't just phrases. They're doorways. Each one unlocks dozens of real-world conversations. You don't need more. You need deeper practice with less. That's the mindset shift. From more vocabulary to more fluency with the vocabulary that matters. You've probably heard someone say, "I studied for months, but when I traveled, I froze." Lepoyo. That's what happens when you learn English like a library and not like a toolbox. Your brain is full of words, but none of them are ready when you need them. Travel doesn't give you time to search for the right verb. You need reflexes. You need rhythm. And rhythm comes from saying the same essential phrases over and over again until your mouth speaks faster than your doubts. What if you trained 10 phrases a day, just those 10, and repeated them with your whole body, your full voice, imagining real scenarios? Can I see the menu? Where is the bathroom? I have a reservation. You wouldn't need 50 alternatives. You'd need to own those 10. Fluency is not about being poetic. It's about being understood, being calm, and being in motion. The most fluent travelers in the world don't speak perfect English. They speak prepared English. They know what to say before the moment comes. They've practiced the sentence. They've heard it aloud. They've felt the rhythm. And when the time comes, they don't freeze. They smile, breathe, speak, and move forward. So stop chasing more. Start going deeper. Choose your top 20 essential phrases. Write them. Say them. Record them. Speak them while you walk, while you cook, while you wait in line. When you say, "Where is the hotel?" it should roll off your tongue like your own name. Travel English is muscle memory. The more you repeat, the more fluent you feel. And the more fluent you feel, the more your trip becomes a true experience. Not something to survive, but something to enjoy. Right now, you already know enough to travel. You just haven't repeated it enough to feel it. That changes today. You don't need more words. You need the right ones, said in the right way over and over again, until you don't think, you just speak. Airports feel intimidating because we see them as unpredictable. Crowds moving fast, announcements echoing, time pressure, unfamiliar signs, unexpected questions. For many learners, this environment creates tension and fear. What if I don't understand? What if they ask me something and I freeze? What if I say the wrong thing? But the truth is, the airport is not chaos. It's choreography. It's a place built on routine, not surprise. And when you understand that airports follow a script, everything becomes simpler, more predictable, and less scary. Think about it. Every passenger in every airport in the world goes through almost the same steps. Check-in, baggage, security, boarding, seat, arrival. The vocabulary changes slightly by country, but the structure remains constant. And if the structure is constant, then the English used in each moment is also predictable. It's not a quiz. It's a play. You know your lines in advance. The only question is whether you've rehearsed them. Let's walk through this. You arrive at the check-in counter. What will they say? Good morning. May I see your passport? You know this. You've seen it in movies. You've heard it 100 times. But if you've never practiced your response out loud, your brain might panic. You hesitate. You reach for grammar rules, and the moment slips through your fingers. But what if, before your trip, you practiced this interaction 5 times a day? Here is my passport. I have one bag to check. I would like a window seat, please. Said with rhythm, with breath, with intention. You would arrive already fluent in that moment. Next comes security. You already know what's coming. Take off your shoes, your belt, your jacket. Empty your pockets. Put your laptop in a separate tray. These aren't complex sentences. They're commands you can rehearse. You can mimic them at home. You can repeat, do I need to take off my watch? Can I keep my phone? Each question is part of the same predictable dance. And once you've practiced it, the fear disappears. Because fluency is not just speaking, it's readiness. It's the feeling of knowing what comes next and being ready to respond. The gate area is no different. You will hear, now boarding group 1. Please have your boarding pass ready. Enjoy your flight. Rehearse your responses. Here it is. Thank you. Have a good day. They seem small, but when spoken with rhythm, they give you power. You stop being a passive traveler. You become an active speaker. And this shift changes everything. You go from reacting to leading, from confusion to clarity. Even delays and problems follow patterns. Your flight is delayed. Your gate has changed. Can I help you with something? These are not unpredictable moments. They are part of the script. You can learn how to say, excuse me, what time will it depart? Where is gate 42 now? Can I speak to someone about my connection? These are simple sentences, but they create confidence in difficult moments. And the most powerful part? You don't need to memorize hundreds of new phrases. You need to master 15 or 20 key lines and rehearse them like an actor. Not once. Not reading silently. But aloud, with your body, your voice, your face. Practice them while walking, while cooking, while imagining the airport around you. Build your airport fluency not with study, but with performance. The airport is a script. You already know the scenes. You've seen the movie. Now it's your turn to play the role. Not the role of a perfect native speaker, but the role of a confident traveler. Someone who speaks clearly, who responds without panic, who smiles even when nervous. That's what English fluency for travel looks like. Not flawless grammar, not advanced vocabulary, just calm, repeated, prepared rhythm in the moments that matter. So next time you imagine the airport, don't see a storm. See a stage. You are not a victim of the system. You are a character with a script. Learn your lines. Speak them with rhythm. And walk through the airport like it's your second language, because it is. The hotel lobby is your first real test as a traveler. Unlike the airport, where the script moves fast and is mostly functional, the hotel is slower, more human, more layered. You're not just checking in. You're creating a moment of presence. You're introducing yourself, asking questions, clarifying details. And how you speak in this moment sets the tone for how you'll speak everywhere else. That's why Hotel English is not just a vocabulary drill. It's a rehearsal for how you want to show up, in English, during your entire journey. The first thing that happens when you approach the desk isn't a word. It's a look, a smile, A greeting. Communication begins before the first sentence. And that's the first mindset shift. English in hotels isn't just about what you say. It's about how you enter the space, how you hold yourself, how you carry your message before words even arrive. Now the staff speaks. Maybe fast. Maybe with an unfamiliar accent. They say, "Hi there, welcome. Do you have a reservation?" This is not a surprise. You know it's coming. So the question is, have you practiced your response? Not once, not silently, not in your head. Out loud, on your feet, with rhythm and breath. "Yes, I have a reservation under the name Amarim." You pause. You hold eye contact. "Can I check in now?" You're not translating. You're flowing. That's not grammar. That's fluency. And it didn't come from knowing more words. It came from practicing fewer words more deeply. Now the details. How many nights? Would you like one bed or two? Breakfast is included. Each question is a door you've already opened in your practice. You've rehearsed 3 nights. "One bed, please." "What time is breakfast?" "Could I have the Wi-Fi password?" You know the lines, but more importantly, you know how to deliver them. Calm, clear, and prepared. That's the rhythm of real travel English. Problems may arise. Your room isn't ready. You want a late checkout. There's noise. You need to switch rooms. And this is where most learners freeze. But remember, you're not improvising. You're adapting. You say, "Excuse me, is there another room available? Could I check out a bit later? The room is a little noisy, could I change it?" These are not advanced phrases. But they are powerful because they are spoken with clarity and rhythm. You're not just making requests. You're communicating respect and expectation. Every hotel interaction is a chance to rehearse your English identity. You can be passive, nod, say okay to everything and hide behind politeness. Or you can step forward and speak. Ask the extra question. Repeat the detail. Confirm what you didn't understand. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of awareness. When you say, "Could you repeat that, please?" You're not showing a problem. You're showing professionalism. When you say, "I didn't understand that last part," you're modeling control. That's fluency. Not knowing everything, but staying present in every moment. Hotels are rhythms. Morning, check-in, questions, requests, small talk. All of it runs on repeated patterns. And if you prepare those patterns, not as memorized lines, but as spoken rhythms in your daily routine, they become part of you. That's why before you travel, you should practice checking into a hotel every day for a week. Stand up, walk to a table, pretend it's the desk. Say, "Hi, I have a reservation under the name Afonso." Pause. Breathe. "How many nights?" 3. "Is breakfast included?" Do it again. And again. Until your mouth speaks faster than your fear. The hotel is more than a place to sleep. It is a training ground. A real-world classroom where your English becomes visible, audible, and real. Every interaction is a stage, and the better you rehearse, the more natural you sound. Fluency is not about sounding native. It's about sounding ready. And readiness is built through rhythm, presence, and repetition. So don't wait until you arrive to find your voice. Build it now. Rehearse your check-in. Repeat your questions. Visualize your presence. You're not just learning hotel vocabulary, you're learning how to move through space as someone who belongs there. In English, with confidence. When you walk into a restaurant in a new country, English is not just a tool for survival. It's a bridge. It's how you make choices, ask questions, express tastes, and even show respect. Eating is universal, but ordering, thanking, asking, and navigating the experience, that's where your English becomes real. You're not just using words to get food. You're using words to create a shared moment. That's why restaurant English is not about complexity. It's about confidence. It's about tone. And most importantly, it's about rhythm. The first challenge is the menu. You sit down. The menu arrives. Maybe it's in English, maybe not. The waiter approaches. They smile, ask, "Can I get you something to drink?" You hear it, but your brain might still be stuck reading the menu. This is where fluency begins, in being able to lift your head and speak, even if you're unsure. You say, "Just water for now, please." That sentence, when spoken with rhythm, with presence, gives you space to breathe. You're no longer reacting. You're guiding the moment. Now the real question comes, are you ready to order? In that instant, all your preparation pays off. Not because you memorized dishes, but because you've practiced your lines. "Yes, I'd like the chicken curry. I'll have the fish with rice. What's the soup of the day?" These sentences are not complicated, but they carry power. They let you move through the interaction with ease. They let you focus on the experience, not the English. And that's the goal. Not perfection, but presence. Let's talk about asking. This is where many learners hesitate. You're curious, but you're afraid to sound wrong. You see something on the menu and you don't know what it means. Ask, "What is this dish? Does it have meat? Is it spicy?" These are not awkward. These are human. And when you ask with rhythm and kindness, people respond with warmth. You're not testing them. You're including them. You're participating in the moment. Now you've eaten. It's time to thank. You say, "That was delicious." "Thank you, it was great." Then comes the check. You signal politely, "Can we have the bill, please?" You're in control. No guessing, no fumbling. Just clear, rhythmic language that lets the meal end as confidently as it began. What's most important here is not just vocabulary. It's your manner, your rhythm, your energy. Restaurant English is about tone. If your voice rises politely, if your eye contact is gentle, if your smile is real, then even simple sentences carry beauty. "I'll have this one. Looks good. Thank you so much." These are not textbook lines. These are real human connections. And they come alive when you stop trying to speak perfectly and start speaking rhythmically. Before you travel, practice restaurant scenes. Don't just write the phrases, speak them. Record yourself. Pretend you're reading the menu. Answer questions. Practice both sides. "Would you like a drink?" "Yes. Orange juice, please." Act out the moment, again and again. The more you rehearse with your voice, the more natural your rhythm becomes. And if things go wrong, if the order is wrong, if you need to change something, stay calm. Use rhythm. "Excuse me, I ordered chicken, not beef. Could I change my drink?" "Sorry, I didn't understand that." These are your tools. They are not signs of failure. They are signs of fluency. Because fluency means not getting stuck. Fluency means moving through mistakes, gently, clearly, respectfully. Food is not just fuel. It's culture. It's memory. It's the place where language becomes taste, smell, laughter, and eye contact. When you speak in restaurants, you're not just feeding your body. You're feeding your fluency. You're building comfort. And every time you say, "That was amazing," and someone smiles, you've won a little more space in the world through English. So next time you sit down at a table in a foreign city, remember, this is not a test. It's an invitation. An invitation to speak, to ask, to enjoy, to connect, with rhythm, with presence, with the voice you've been practicing every day. When you arrive in a new city, everything around you speaks a different language. Signs, faces, systems, sounds. You feel like an outsider. You might even feel invisible. But the moment you open your mouth and speak, clearly, calmly, and with rhythm, something changes. You go from being a tourist to becoming a participant. And that shift doesn't require perfect English. It just requires the courage to speak. Because exploring a city in English is not about mastering complex vocabulary. It's about being willing to ask, to notice, to connect, to move. Most people think asking for directions is a weakness. It's not. It's power. Power to guide your day, control your experience, and invite unexpected moments. When you say, "Excuse me, where is the train station?" you're doing more than asking. You're declaring that you belong in this city. You're saying, "I may not know everything, but I know how to speak, how to ask, how to find." That is not weakness. That is fluency. Think about it. The words you need are simple, but the act is brave. Where is... How do I get to... Is this the right bus? You don't need advanced grammar to explore. You need rhythm. You need presence. You need the ability to walk up to a stranger and speak without apology. And the only way to build that is by practicing every day. Not just what to say, but how to say it. Loud enough to be heard. Calm enough to be understood. Clear enough to feel proud of your own voice. Now imagine the other moments that fill your day as a traveler. You walk into a shop. How much is this? Do you have this in another size? Can I try it on? You're at a museum. Where's the ticket counter? Is there a student discount? You want to join a tour. What time does it start? Is it in English? These are not academic sentences. They're human tools. They let you participate in the city instead of walking past it with silence. And the best part? These moments are often short, low pressure, and repetitive. You're not being tested. You're being welcomed. People in most cities are used to helping travelers. They don't expect perfect English. They expect presence. When you smile and say, "Excuse me, I'm looking for this street," and you show your map or phone, they already understand your situation, your rhythm, your tone, your courage. These are what they listen to. The words are just the surface. The energy is the connection. Every city has its own rhythm. And when you use English to move through that rhythm, you're not just getting around, you're absorbing it. You're walking with the locals, not just past them. And each time you ask a question, each time you start a small conversation, you build a memory, not just of the place, but of your fluency growing right there, in the middle of real life. The fear of asking comes from two places: not knowing what to say, and not believing you have the right to ask. Both are lies. You do know what to say, because you can practice it. And you do have the right, because being a traveler doesn't mean being silent. It means being open. You are allowed to take up space in the world with your questions, your voice, your curiosity. So prepare before you go. Choose 10 of the most common travel questions. Practice them daily. Say them in your room. Walk around your home while asking them out loud. Picture a map. Picture a bus stop. Picture the museum desk. And speak. Speak with rhythm, with breath, with posture. Not to impress, but to express. To be present. Because travel is not about seeing. It's about connecting. And connection begins with voice. When you speak English in the street, in the market, at the stoplight, you're not just navigating. You're transforming. You're becoming fluent not by memorizing more, but by daring more. Daring to speak even when you don't know everything. Daring to ask. Daring to try. That's the real travel experience. Not perfect English, but real English. Spoken in real places, with real people. And that begins the moment you stop walking silently and start moving with rhythm. No matter how much you plan, how many confirmations you print, or how many phrases you rehearse, things go wrong. The flight gets delayed. Your bag doesn't arrive. You miss the bus. You feel sick. Someone misunderstands you. These aren't the polished moments of travel. These are the ones that test you. And in these moments, your English doesn't need to be beautiful. It needs to be calm, fast, and clear. Because when something goes wrong, your ability to speak simply becomes your ability to think clearly. Most people freeze in these moments, not because they don't know English, but because stress blocks their rhythm. Their breathing shortens, their memory blanks, and that's when panic takes over. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can prepare your nervous system and your language system at the same time. You do this by training short, powerful phrases that act like anchors in the storm. Not full explanations, not polite essays, just solid, repeatable, rhythmic sentences that bring order back to the moment. You land in a new country and your bag is missing. You don't need 10 sentences. You need one. My luggage didn't arrive. The airport worker understands. Now you follow up. What should I do? Or, where is the baggage claim office? Or, can you help me? These are your tools. You don't need more. You just need to say them without breaking. That's fluency in emergencies, not advanced language, but emotional steadiness through rhythm. Let's say you're sick in your hotel. You feel dizzy. You don't know how to explain it. You call the front desk. All you need is, I don't feel well. Can I speak to a doctor? Is there a hospital nearby? These are not complicated phrases, but they must be trained. Not memorized once, but repeated aloud until your mouth says them on its own, even when you're scared. Because when your heart is racing, your tongue must already know what to say. You miss a train. You're late for a connection. You're lost in a neighborhood. These are not tragedies, but they feel overwhelming when your voice shuts down. This is where rhythm saves you. Excuse me, I'm lost. Is there another bus? What time is the next train? When you practice these exact sentences ahead of time, your brain doesn't have to search. It just delivers. And that delivery, clear, confident, simple, creates immediate trust in the people around you. This is why fluency in travel isn't just about smooth conversations. It's about staying functional when you're under pressure. It's about having access to your voice when your body wants to shut down. And the secret is this: you can train for that. You can practice saying the hard sentences calmly. You can visualize the stressful scenes and rehearse your English in them. It's like fire drills. The real thing feels less scary when you've walked through it in advance. You don't need to prepare for every possible problem. That's impossible. You just need to prepare your recovery phrases. I don't understand. Can you repeat that? I need help. Please speak slowly. These are your emergency brakes, your stabilizers, your reset buttons. They bring oxygen back into the moment. They open space for help to enter. You don't need to sound fluent. You just need to sound present. And if someone doesn't understand you, you say it again. Slower, clearer. If someone speaks too fast, you ask them to repeat. If you misunderstood something important, you ask again. That's not failure. That's maturity. That's real-world fluency. Staying in the moment, even when it's uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, when something goes wrong while you're traveling, you're not just speaking for clarity. You're speaking for safety, for recovery, for direction. Your English in these moments doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work. And if you've trained your rhythm, if you've practiced the short, strong phrases that keep you calm, then even in the storm, you will not lose your voice. That's the difference between hoping everything goes right and being prepared for when it doesn't. One is wishful, the other is powerful. And that power is yours every time you speak with rhythm, even when things fall apart. Everything you've learned, the phrases, the rhythms, the confidence, the calm under pressure, none of it matters if it lives only in theory. None of it matters if it stays inside notebooks or in apps you open once a week. Travel fluency is not a goal you reach by accident. It's not something you wake up with on the day of your flight. It's not a talent. It's not luck. It's a decision. A decision you make every single day. To show up. To speak out loud. To rehearse. To repeat. To act like your future self before the plane ever takes off. There are thousands of learners who dream of speaking English while they travel. They watch videos. They save posts. They nod when they hear good advice. But they don't practice. They don't speak. They don't commit. And when the moment comes, the airport, the taxi, the hotel, the restaurant, they freeze. Not because they aren't smart, but because they weren't ready. They treated fluency like a possibility, not like a responsibility. But you don't have to be one of them. You now know the truth. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to memorize endless vocabulary lists. You don't need native-level pronunciation. You need rhythm. You need presence. You need the courage to repeat the same 10 sentences until they sound like your own voice. And most of all, you need a system. A small one. Simple, repeatable, daily. You don't need to study for hours. That's a lie. You don't need to wait for motivation. That's a trap. You need 30 minutes, sometimes 20, even 15. You need one moment per day where you stand up, speak out loud, rehearse a scene, build your fluency like a muscle. That's the real practice. That's the work that no one sees but everyone hears when you open your mouth in real life. And here's the magic. It compounds. One day you practice how to order at a cafe. The next, you build a conversation at the hotel desk. Another day, you repeat your airport phrases 5 times in a row. Then you shadow a conversation. Then you speak into your phone and play it back. These aren't big moments, but they add up. Like drops of water carving through stone. One repetition at a time, your fluency grows. Not on special days, on ordinary ones. Fluency isn't what you do when you're traveling. It's what you build when you're home, in silence, in preparation, in decision. You are not learning English to impress anyone. You are learning it so you can move through the world with more freedom, more presence, more access to connection. That's what travel really gives you. Not just memories, but mirrors. Mirrors that show you who you are when you're brave enough to speak. So make the decision now. Not for next month. Not for the day before your trip. Now. Set your routine. Build your practice. Choose 10 phrases. Speak them aloud daily. Practice a scene every morning. Turn your kitchen into a cafe. Your hallway into a hotel desk. Your mind into a dialogue partner. Don't wait for travel to make you fluent. Let fluency prepare you for the journey. Because English isn't something you carry in a phrasebook anymore. It's something you wear in your voice. And fluency doesn't begin when someone asks you a question. It begins when you decide to answer before they ask. So choose today. Choose your phrases. Choose your rhythm. Choose your voice. Travel fluency is not a test you pass. It's a decision you make. Again, and again, and again. Until one day, you arrive in a new city, open your mouth, and realize you were already fluent before you got there.